Hi, and welcome to part 5 of our PowerShell PSWriteHTML series. So in the last couple series, we've seen how to do the easy reports with PSWriteHTML. We've seen how to do Visio style diagrams. We've seen how to make calendars or web calendars. We've also seen how to put it all together with more of like a dashboard with some tabs, panels, and sections. Today, we're actually going to be adding on to that, and we're going to look at how we can actually create charts. There are many charts that you can actually make using PSWriteHTML. We're going to be taking a look at a few of them. We're going to be taking a look at the pie chart, the donut chart, and then the bar chart, timeline chart, and just a line chart on its own. So these are quite a lot of the charts. There are a few more. These are just the ones that I kind of find I would probably get the most benefit out of in like a work style environment, but you can definitely check out the documentation for the module for the other ones. Or if you guys do have a specific request for a chart that you guys want me to make an example of, definitely feel free to leave the comment in down below in the comment section, and I could definitely make a video on the other ones as well. But let's actually go ahead and let's get started on creating our page of charts and adding some charts in. So as always, with our PSWriteHTML, what I like to do is always just create our file path, which is going to be for our HTML file path. So let's go ahead and let's just copy the path here. And there it is. And we're just going to do a backslash, and we're going to do charts.html. Perfect. And now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to create our HTML page, create a section, create a panel, and we're going to put some charts in there. So we're kind of combining the last video with the dashboard and this video with the charts. Kind of give you guys a better of a feel of how to create these types of pages and get the most benefits for that here. So let's do a new HTML. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the title text here. We're going to just put this to charts. We're going to put the online parameter here to pull that style sheet. And let's go ahead and let's put the file path here. We're going to put our variable, and we're just going to do the open and closing curly brackets. And there it is. So once we have this created, as we've seen with our previous video with the dashboards, we need to go ahead and start putting in sections. And then we're going to start putting in some panels just to kind of separate things out a little bit better. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a new HTML section. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the header text here. And we're going to put the header text here as pie slash donut charts. So I find these are kind of similar. They're round in shape, and they're basically just the amount in percentage of the values that you put in. So I kind of like using, kind of combining those two into this section here. And then we're going to create a new HTML panel. And we're going to go ahead and we are just going to go ahead and open that. And now is the fun part. We're actually going to be creating our first chart here. So let's go ahead and let's do a new HTML chart. And we are going to go ahead and do an open and closing curly bracket here. And then all we're going to do here is we're going to do a new chart pie. And then we're going to do the name is we are actually just going to put this as active account. So we're going to just put some fictitious data in here. Now, of course, this would probably be data that you're actually pulling back. So the name would probably be something, maybe you do put in the name there manually. Maybe you put in the name via a variable. Maybe you have a array of all the data that you would want, and you would actually loop through it, and with each iteration you would actually basically do a for each loop and then a new chart pie in there. We can actually make an example of that as well. But let's go ahead and let's just do some fictitious examples first, and then we'll actually get into that a little bit later on. So let's say our active accounts here, we're going to say we have 10. And we can actually even specify a color here. So we can actually specify green. And then let's put in a new line here. We're going to say new chart pie name, and we're going to say disabled accounts. And we're going to put the value here. We're going to put that as 2. We're going to do color, and we're going to do the color red here. All right, so this is all good to go. So if we actually go ahead and we run this now, we'll actually go ahead. So we've created the HTML chart. Now, the one thing that we did forget, because it didn't open up the web page automatically, and of course, you don't need to open up the web page automatically. I just like it for the ability to just see that right away, not have to go open it. So I like to add the parameter of show HTML at the bottom here. And we're going to go ahead and run that. And there is our pie chart. So as you can see, we can actually hover over them. It will actually tell us disabled accounts is 2, which represents 16.7% of the accounts. And then the active accounts we have as 10, which represents 83.3% of the accounts. And you can actually go ahead and hover over the different options here, and you'll actually get the highlighted section, and you can even click on it to kind of make it a little bit stand out. You can see kind of pops out a little bit, or the red will pop out a little bit there as well. And so let's go ahead, let's just close out of here, and let's see how you would actually do this for, as an example, a for each loop here. So let's go ahead. Okay, so what we're actually going to do here is we're going to create a variable called accounts, and we aren't going to actually set that equal to anything. What we're actually going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a new file, and this will actually make things a lot easier for us. So we're going to name it accounts.csv. So this is basically going to be pretending to be our active directory here. So we're just going to put a name, comma, enabled. And that really should be good enough for what we actually need here. So we can actually create a name test1. Enabled is going to be true. Test2, we're going to put that to false. Test3, we're going to put that to true. Test4, test4, we're going to put that to true as well. We're just going to save that here. Then all we want to go ahead and do is just import -csv. And then we're going to put the path here. We're just going to put some double quotes. We're going to copy the path here, paste that in here. Now, I always like to specify the delimiter, even though we know that we're using the default delimiter. I still like to put that in there. So we can actually call upon our file here where we have all of our accounts. And we actually see that we do have tons of accounts here. So that is perfect. And then now this isn't going to be exactly the for each example, but we're actually going to do a for each example just afterwards here. This is just basically as if we're pulling data back. So here we have our active accounts. So here, all we can actually do here is just specify accounts, and we can actually pipe that to where enabled equals true. And that should actually come up here. There it is. So it does actually detect it as being true. And then all we need to do is do a dot count because we want the number that's in there. We don't actually care about the data that's in there. We actually just care about the amount that's in there. So let's go ahead and let's run this now. And there is our data. We still have our color because we specified our colors still here. So let's go ahead and let's create a new chart. Now this is going to be a little bit different because we're going to be doing a for each loop. So let's go ahead and let's just copy paste this panel and this chart here. But we're just going to remove these two chart pies. Now, this will depend again on the data that you actually pull back and how you pull back your data, what API that you're calling to get these data back. So we're going to have to figure out if you actually have to create the lines for the chart pies or if you can actually use a for each loop. Now, a very, very cool solution with the for each loops, which would be, let's say we get a account stats variable here. Now, for each loop, now, of course, everything needs to be in an array. So we can actually create our array here. And then what we can actually do in this array is we can actually put different objects in here. So if we've created a account stats variable and then we go ahead and put in objects in there because we already kind of already know what we're getting into here. So let's go ahead and let's create our object. So to create a simple object here, it's just going to be the @ symbol, open and closing curly brackets in here. And we're just going to put a name here. And the name we're going to do is active accounts. And then what we want to do is do that. And then the value. Now, what we can do for value, of course, is we can actually pull back the same data. So we can do accounts where enabled equals true dot count. And then what I would actually want to do here as well is put in a color. So I want the active accounts to be green, but we need to put that in double quotes. So there is our first object here. And I just want to put a comma in here. And let's copy paste this object in here. And we're going to do disabled accounts. And we're just going to say that this is where it's equal to false. And we're going to change our color to red here. And then in here, we're going to do a for each. And we're going to say for each item in account stats. In account stats, what we want to do is a new chart I. And then the name. So what we can do here is item.name. The value is going to be item.value. And then the color, because we actually put that in here, we can do an item.color. Now, of course, this would be very handy to actually create these with for each loops. Maybe you'll have to create some methods there to be able to pull that data back accurately from your Active Directory and organize it in a format where you can do a for each loop. This way, if you do have data that kind of changes over time, maybe you have some extra properties that you're looking at, it would be very easy to just do a for each loop. This way, you don't have to add the pie chart. All you need to do is add an extra thing to your object to have a property that will be automatically put in there. So there is our active and disabled accounts. So that is perfect. Let's go ahead and let's just close out of this here. So that is really the pie charts in a whole here. And then the other cool chart that we can make. Now, all the rest of these charts here, we are probably going to just do with regular data that we are just putting in just to keep the video short and sweet here so you guys don't have to filter through a bunch of very similar examples. So once we have our new panel and our new chart, as you probably noticed, really the only thing that's going to change is this commandlet here of new chart pie. So for a donut chart, what we're going to do is a new chart donut. And then we can go ahead and we can put the name here. And we can go ahead and say, let's say the name is Toronto. So this is basically going to be maybe our disbursement of employees geographically. So let's say Toronto has 20. Let's say New York has 50. And let's say Vancouver has 6. And I'm going to keep it there for now. So this would be a pretty good disbursement here. And let's go ahead and let's run it and let's see what our donut chart looks like. So there it is. As always, it does pick colors at a random if you do not specify the colors. I like to specify colors, especially for Active Directory style data. If it's something where it is like just a geographical location, I will let them pick the colors for me because I don't really think that is super important. I like to use red and green and sometimes orange. I avoid yellow if it's something with statuses or anything about a status or enabled or a lock status or anything like that. I like to use status colors for those. Now, of course, you can actually load, again, the donut chart with a for each loop, but we're actually not going to be taking a look at that because we've already seen an example for that. But something that we can actually do here is a new chart toolbar. And then what we can actually do here is we can actually add some options here. So we can actually add the ability to download our chart here. So let's go ahead and let's run that here. And as you can see, none of these other two pie charts have it, but the donut chart now has a little hamburger menu, which we can actually click and we can actually download the data. You can actually download the CSV data or the actual picture data. So let's actually go ahead and let's download the CSV. And we will actually see, if we actually just open the file here, we get category and we have the value. We can actually have our disbursement in a very nice CSV format that automatically gets created for us. If we download the PNG, we will see that just the actual chart itself gets downloaded here if it will load. So there is our chart. Now, of course, you do lose the interactivity when you download it as a picture, of course, because it is just a flat picture. But as the other one, you can still hover over and still get all the actual notes of the data and everything like that. So that is the donut chart. So let's go ahead and let's keep going here. So what we're actually going to do now is we're going to go into the bar charts. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to create a new section here. So we're going to do a new HTML section and we are going to header text. We are going to say bar charts and open and closing curly brackets, new HTML panel, open and closing curly brackets, and let's go ahead and let's make this chart here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a new chart bar, and we are going to say that the name is going to be, let's say this is going to be for a ticketing system here. So we are going to say tickets currently open. And then we're going to say actually, this is not what we're going to do. So we're going to do a new, so before the new chart bar, what we need to do is actually a new chart legend here. This is important for the bar chart. And then we're going to say names. Now this is where we're going to put in our array here. So we can actually go ahead and just put in our tickets currently open. And we're going to say tickets currently closed. And then tickets on hold. Perfect. So once we actually have that here, and we can actually set colors for these as well. So let's go ahead and let's once again just put in our array. And now these are all going to be basically matched up again based on position. So we're going to do green for open. We're actually going to say that it's red because we don't want tickets to be open. If they are closed, we're going to say that they are green. If they are on hold, we are going to say that they are orange. All right, and then we are going to go back to our new chart bar here, and we're going to say name is going to be employee 1, and then the value here, we are going to put that as a 163. If we go ahead and we just look at this here, make sure that everything is working correctly. It does not actually seem to be working correctly here. So let me just remove the array. I always tend to put arrays, even though that's not what we need to put in here, I believe. Let's just remove all the arrays and let's just have all the values just open like that. And that still is not working for us. Let's just go ahead and let's see what's going on here that potentially could be causing our issue. Oh, there it is. You guys probably saw this before I did. We have our new panel here, but we don't have our new HTML chart. Let's do an open and closing curly bracket here. Let's cut this and paste this in here. Sorry about that, guys. There it is. There is our chart here. So we have our employee 1. We have 1 ticket currently open, 6 closed, and 3 on hold. Now, there are ways to actually make this look a little bit different for bar charts. So if we actually go ahead up here, we can actually say a new chart bar options. And we can say type. And we can actually say bar stacked. If we actually run this here, we will actually see that it actually stacks it all up in one bar here. We can actually see kind of like representatively how many tickets are open, closed, and on hold. So what we can actually even do here, and of course you'd be able to then do the chart bars again in a for each loop or anything like that. So if we actually do employee 2, and I'm pretty sure we can actually put these in arrays here. Let's just put these into arrays and see what happens. I'm pretty sure that you can do this. It just makes it a little bit cleaner, I find, to look at. Employee 2 will have 2 tickets open. They've only closed 4, but they only have 1 on hold. Let's go ahead and let's see what this looks like here. There it is. There's our 2 employees, so we can actually see very nicely how many tickets they have open, how many tickets they have closed, and how many tickets they have on hold. Perfect. So that is working great here. So let's just close out of that here. And let's go ahead and let's look at the next chart here, which is going to be the line charts. Now, these actually have 2 different style charts. There are timeline charts and just regular line charts. So let's go ahead and let's copy this whole section here. And we're just going to rename the bar charts to line charts. And let's go ahead and let's just remove all of these options here. We're going to keep our new HTML chart because we knew that that actually kind of bit us a little bit earlier when we forgot to do the new HTML chart. So be sure you guys probably won't forget it like I do, but I sometimes forget that, especially if I'm just not thinking at 100% there. So let's go ahead and let's create our line chart. Now, of course, you guys are probably starting to understand this quite well, but we're going to take a look at maybe a few things that are kind of neat for some of these. So we can actually add titles to our HTML charts. So let's name this one employee time planning. Now, of course, you could add names to these ones too. So we can actually do new HTML chart title. We can say accounts. I won't put a name to each one, but just to let you guys know, you can put titles on your charts. And then you can even do a title alignment. I like to always center mine. That's just what I like to do. And then we can do a new chart timeline. Now here it actually is going to ask for a date from and a date to and a name and color if you wanted to do color as well. So let's go ahead and let's just do a date from, and we're going to make this just get date, add days. We're going to add minus 3 days. This is going to be something that's going to be done in the past here. And then the date to, we're going to go ahead and do get date, add days minus 1 here. So that's already done. But name, this was a build server for Tim. Go ahead, we can take that line here and do that. So of course, again, this could be pulled from a data set where you have all your different projects maybe, and you have the dates that you are planning to work on these projects. So here we can add days here. We're going to say that this is -2. So we have a little bit of overlapping projects here. But here we're going to add 3 days. And this is going to be a health, so AD health assessment, let's say. And let's just paste it one more time here. And we're going to make a project for the future. So that's going to start in 4 days. And we're going to add 14 days. And that'll be a Exchange server migration, maybe. All right, so let's go ahead and let's see what this looks like here. There it is. So there is our employee time planning. So maybe you can have one of these charts for each employee in your organization or something, and then the projects that they're responsible for, and then the times that they are. And this will actually, if you hover over it, will give you the name of the project and the days allocated for that project. So it's kind of like a planner a little bit, or projects from Microsoft if you've ever played with planner or projects. It's a very similar look to that, and you can actually create these all using PowerShell. So very neat. You don't need to be using the Microsoft tools to actually create it, although PowerShell is one of them. But you can actually use PowerShell to create all of these neat little charts. So now the only one left is just a basic line chart. So let's go ahead and let's create a new panel and a new chart here. And let's say this is going to be incident reported versus solved. All right, let's delete these. So this is probably going to be more like a help desk example. So what we want for a line chart here, we're going to do a new chart. We're going to do it on the x-axis here. And we are going to say name, or names in this case. We're going to put in our array here. And all we're going to do is just 1, 2. So I'm basically just putting in numbers here, as in the month. So we're going to have 4, 5. Now, of course, you can put these as like January, February, March, and so on. I'm just doing the numbers for the ease of entering. All right, so there we have our 12 months here. And then we're going to do a new chart line. And we're going to say name is going to be incident reported, or incidents, and then we're going to say value. So here we're going to put in 12 values here. So we're just going to put 5, 12, so we're at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right, and we are just going to copy paste this line right underneath it, and we're going to say incidents resolved, and we're going to say this line is going to be 3, it's going to be 10, it's going to be 12, 19, 21, 30, 39, 42. We didn't solve a lot that month. Kind of catching up a little bit. And then 78. Perfect. All right. So now that we have our data in here, so we can actually go ahead and run this once again and scroll down to the bottom. So here is our line chart of incident reported versus solved. So we can see that the months, we have some slow months for tickets, but then we also have some slow months for solving tickets. But towards the end of the year, we're still fairly close to having all the tickets closed that were actually opened. So these are all the different examples of charts. Now, these, of course, are just examples that I have given. You can use these charts in a bunch of different ways, and you can definitely pull data back and put them in, as we've seen with the pie chart. So you can easily do it with for each loops or just actual objects, and then just pipelining and selecting where objects are equal to certain things and then getting the count. There are plenty of ways that you can actually use these charts for your everyday work, especially in IT, or even if other departments need charts for their data. This is actually a great tool that you can actually use. And the best part is PowerShell is free and the PSWriteHTML is free. Combine this with all the other things that you can do with the reports, with the Visio diagrams, the dashboards. You can create some very nice looking tools for your organization or for yourself or for your own home lab. If you guys have any other questions or comments on PSWriteHTML, please let me know below in the comment section. Or if you guys have a module that you guys would like me to look at, please let me know in the comment section down below. I want to see all the different types of modules that you guys are using that I can actually learn, and maybe I can actually find some use for them in my life as well. And maybe other people will learn from those videos and be able to use them for themselves as well. I thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button, that like button, and also don't forget to hit that notification bell to be notified when that next video comes out, and I will see you guys on the next video.